The Laws of War DLC is the first project by our small new Amsterdam development studio with tremendous support from our Czech and Thai colleagues. The Laws of War refer to a set of rules that aim to preserve human dignity in armed conflict. They impose certain limitations on the way war can be conducted. A primary goal is to protect those who are most vulnerable, such as civilians, but also others who can no longer participate directly in hostilities. You might also know them as International Humanitarian Law, or IHL for short, or the Law of Armed Conflict, or Jus in Bello. The Geneva Conventions are perhaps the most well-known treaties.
Really, it comes down to just a few basic rules of combat. The first is maybe the most obvious: only engage combatants or fighters. Secondly, don't attack anything other than military targets, which means places like hospitals or schools are typically off limits. Thirdly, spare civilians and respect their property. And finally, armed forces should limit destruction to what military necessity requires. Maybe by way of example, a cluster strike on a civilian town. There may be a high-value target there, but that would generally be an IHL violation.
In terms of how it translates into the game, it means we're adding a humanitarian faction, vehicles and other related assets into the Arma 3 sandbox. With these, we explore the topic of the laws of war, with a particular focus on mines and other explosive remnants of war in a single-player mini-campaign. All in all, with this DLC, we wanted to explore a different perspective on the battlefield. At the same time, we wanted to make sure our players and content creators have meaningful new additions that they can use and experience. And of course, we hope this will increase awareness of this complicated and critical aspect of warfare.
At the heart of the DLC is a new humanitarian faction, IDAP. IDAP stands for International Development and Aid Project, a fictional multinational NGO which specializes in rapidly responding to humanitarian disasters. It plays a leading role in promoting and protecting the laws of war.
The new faction is composed of IDAP-branded character gear and clothing, vehicles and lots of decorative objects. There are various aid worker outfits, including those that are suited to specialized IDAP roles such as the EOD specialist. Other than that, there's things like new vests, helmets, bags, tents and furniture, medical objects, food bags, emergency blankets, stretchers, something we call a mine dispenser, and much more. Some of this is premium content, but much of it is available for free for everyone who owns Arma 3.
IDAP makes use of some existing Arma 3 vehicles, but it also brings some completely new ones. The van comes in various liveries, which complement the different roles it can perform, such as logistics, transport, and even an ambulance variant. As for the drone, we have a variant designed to move cargo, a variant that can be used for medical purposes, and a special variant that can be used to clear mines. All of these new additions will provide many new opportunities on the Arma 3 battlefield.
The Laws of War DLC is not just an asset pack, but it also includes a story-driven single-player mini-campaign. Here players take on the role of an IDAP explosive specialist, but you also get to explore various perspectives of fighting forces as well as civilians. One of the central themes in the campaign is the fundamental truth that actions have consequences.
The campaign takes you to the town of Oreokastro after the war in the Republic of Altis Stratis has ended. The story follows an IDAP-sponsored demining operation, where your character is interviewed by an investigative journalist.
Had IDAP been particularly active in the area?
Yeah. I mean, our project had a handful of camps spread across the country.
At the same time, you're tasked with identifying and deactivating mines around the town. As you progress, you'll uncover what happened in the town of Oreokastro, experiencing events from the perspective of all sides, recollections which span multiple periods of time. That means we get to see things from IDAP's point of view, but it's also the civilians, the AAF, NATO, CSAT, and the FIA guerrillas.
While you play the campaign, you will encounter various situations related to the laws of war, such as the distinction between a combatant and a non-combatant, and what is considered appropriate force in a certain situation. At the same time, we also want to show that things aren't always so black and white, and that one of the most difficult parts of war is to anticipate the consequences of your choices. We expect that most players will take around 4 to 5 hours to finish the campaign, depending on their playstyle. And we hope it helps people develop a deeper understanding of how war is conducted, as well as what the long-term implications of certain decisions can be.
Besides the campaign, Laws of War DLC also brings with it 2 new showcases, which are available for free for everyone that owns Arma 3. One of the individual scenarios is Showcase IDAP, which serves as an introduction to the new IDAP faction. Here, you're welcome to one of IDAP's open days on Altis. As a reporter invited before the event opens, you get more information on the organization's activities. This includes a demonstration of an information leaflet drop and a demining operation, and much more besides.
In Showcase Laws of War, you are a soldier who takes part in an IHL workshop by IDAP. As part of this, you will do 3 virtual training sims. Each of these focus on a particular subject of the Laws of War. There's one that explains the distinction between combatants and non-combatants, while the other 2 focus on the use of close support strikes and mines.
One of the key platform features of this DLC is the improvement of cluster munitions and the simulation of unexploded ordnance. Cluster bombing is a highly destructive form of warfare. It has devastating effects. For this reason, their use in areas populated by civilians is generally a war crime. Aside from the fact that cluster strikes are not very precise and target a wide area, another problem is that some of the ordnance hitting the ground might not actually explode. This is referred to as UXO, which stands for Unexploded Ordnance. As you can imagine, UXO creates extremely dangerous situations, even long after a war may have come to an end.
Overall, this DLC primarily adds new assets and playable content. In terms of platform features, instead of introducing major new features like we've done with previous DLC, with this DLC we've mostly focused on refining existing features related to our topic. Another example of this are the improvements to the process of identifying and clearing mines and other explosives. This is now a more manual process that places greater emphasis on your mine detector tool. Bohemia Interactive has been in touch with the ICRC for a few years now. This started with a presentation from Christian Rufer to our development team about International Humanitarian Law. Since then, we have also briefly worked together with the ICRC for our Make Arma Not War modding contest. Once we came to the idea of the Laws of War DLC, we reached out to Christian for his advice and consultation, and to make sure that we correctly depict the Laws of War.
This partnership with Bohemia Interactive started in 2011, when we first contacted them to know more about the game. We were interested to see if some more IHL, Law of Armed Conflict elements could be added to the game. It's an interest of the ICRC that everybody understand at least some basic of what is the Law of Armed Conflict. It might not affect you today. You might not, ever use the Law of Armed Conflict in your daily life, but this might happen. If they can play a game and at least get some basic principles, that will be great for ICRC. Personally, as an ICRC delegate, as a former army officer, I'm really interested to see new layers of complexity that will bring more realism in games. Personally, I will, of course, welcome that, but I think I'm not the only one.
Working on Laws of War DLC, it's shown it to be a very complex and, of course, serious topic. Really, everything's been shades of grey, nothing's been black or white.
Ultimately, this DLC aims to deliver an introduction to the Laws of War, while of course the assets in themselves can also be used by players in any way they wish. Beyond that, we hope that players will find it interesting to explore this authentic part of warfighting, which unfortunately is again very relevant in today's day and age. We're very curious to hear about everyone's experiences with the DLC and their thoughts on the topic.
We hope this developer diary gives you a better idea of what to expect from this unique topic. If you'd like to experience it for yourself, the Laws of War DLC is now available on Steam and through the Bohemia store. We'd like to thank everyone that's been part of this development, and we're looking forward to hear what you think of the DLC. Bye for now.